This is the UC Hunting Properties Podcast, your home for all things recreational land. Our goal, to help you stand on your investment. Hey guys, welcome back to the UC Hunting Properties Podcast. As always, we're going to highlight an agent today. My buddy Laramie McClurg, he's up in Wisconsin, kind of king of the driftless area. I think most people have heard of Buffalo County, Trempealeau. This is basically right in his backyard, and it's his stomping ground. So Laramie's a very avid hunter, grew up doing the farm thing, being a Midwest kid. I'll let him kind of walk us through that. But Laramie's got a pretty unique background, some financial services. We'll go there. We're going to dive into hunting with him. I mean, this is one of those guys we could probably podcast for 6 hours. And for sake of him and for sake of our listeners, we'll try to give it a little consolidation today. But without further ado, Laramie, welcome to the UC Hunting Properties Podcast.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Glad to be here. Excited to do this. I've listened to a bunch of these, and yeah, excited to be on and chat with you a little bit. Right on. So tell us, Laramie, I always ask every guest to give us kind of a bio or some background about you, and so you can introduce yourself to the listener. But take some time and break it down, dude. Yeah, so I grew up in Vernon County, southwest Wisconsin, driftless area. Grew up on a 600-acre dairy farm. I kind of always joke that, I grew up on a farm, but I was more interested in the outdoor aspects of hunting and fishing and being on the farm than the farm
Hard
aspect.
Not to, yeah.
That has since changed since I've really kind of developed a love for food plots and just all things farming, since I have really taken that on with our property and the properties that I manage at this point. But I grew up with a dad that was as hardcore comes as far as hunting, and he still is. I mean, he's 73 years old, and he hunts harder than a lot of the guys I know, and I know some guys that hunt pretty hard. So, it's just been part of my blood. It's been from the time I can remember. He was taking me with him. He was showing me the ropes. We were turkey hunting, deer hunting, squirrel hunting, coon hunting, rabbit hunting, a small game. We were doing it all on our farm. And, just love that area, love that region. I still spend a lot of time down there. We got a little cabin on our property down there still. And, and obviously I have a lot of clients in the Vernon County area as well. And so it's a nice spot. It's a nice area to really, find those opportunities for some recreational getaways as well.
Sure.
And so,
I love it, dude. Following you on social media. I mean, every year you do a nice job. Come hunting season, I mean, you can see the tradition and heritage, and I love that. That's probably my favorite thing about Wisconsin, is that it is still opening day of gun season up there. Like I joke, and I always say it's like a national holiday, but that's no joke. I mean, I'd love to know percentage-wise how many kids aren't at school on opening day or opening week or whatever.
We've definitely developed a tradition, right? So we have a little cabin on our property, and it has been something that has been a family tradition for all my kids, my nieces and nephews, since my dad kind of has built this tradition where we all come together for opening weekend.
Sure.
And come down, stay at the cabin, have a good time. My brother doesn't really hunt, so he kind of is the guy who does all the chili and takes care of the cabin, does some of the cooking. And then we've got neighbors that come and hang out, Saturday after, closing time. It's the place to be. People come down and hang out, talk, share stories. It is just one of those things that it is the typical Wisconsin traditional hunting camp, which is awesome, right?
That is awesome. Yeah.
I love bow hunting. I mean, bow hunting is something completely different, right? Like, it's your own sport. It's your own thing that you're doing on your, by yourself. But this is very much a family and friends traditional get together, and it's I love it. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to it every year. Never gonna miss one.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, bow hunting's for sure, my passion, or hunting in general is, but bow hunting, it definitely is number one for me. But I think back through the years, and I started we call it party hunting down here in Iowa, but I mean, it's a deer camp, right? It's your buddies, it's their dads, now it's their kids. And it's so generational that it's almost ingrained with me. So like, as much as I don't necessarily care about killing a deer, doing an organized deer drive or even with a gun for that matter, I don't think I could miss it, man. Just because
Yeah.
it's that camaraderie, it's the funny stories, and yeah, there's some beer getting drank, but it's that one. For me, at least, it's about the 3 days out of the year I see a lot of my buddies that I don't see otherwise.
That's 100% right. Like, you got a lot of neighbors and friends and family that get together, and that's the time of the year that you get to spend some more time with them, right? And it comes
Right.
around, sharing some deer stories and sharing a bowl of chili and sharing a cold beer, right? And those are the times where you get together, and I look forward to it every year. Yeah, I mean, do I look at taking a buck with a bow maybe as a little higher level,
Sure.
success? But in the same, I mean, I'm out there to shoot some deer. I mean, we need to shoot deer on our property, and I'm not afraid to shoot does. And
Right.
uh, I enjoy it as much. I'm very much a hunter that takes advantage of target friendly opportunities, and rifle gives you that, right?
I don't know if there's a better place in the country than Wisconsin for that. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
So walk us through it, Laramie. I mean, I know your professional background is maybe a little unique to the real estate space, but I also think that uniqueness, potentially makes you a perfect match for some clients. So just walk us through that. I mean, obviously, yeah, you're a farm kid from Wisconsin, tore up with hunting. Bring us up to speed current day. I mean, what's a day in Laramie's life look like?
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of start from the beginning, actually. So I started a career focused on sales and marketing. Actually started a career in television, advertising and selling advertising. And I actually worked for Northland Adventures, if you remember that show, for a while in the sales side of things. Worked for a couple local ABC affiliates in sales, and then I kind of turned and went a little bit different route and started to focus on financial education sales, and started that about 15 years ago. And right about that time, my dad had started to sell some of our 600-acre dairy farm off. Right, like he got out of farming, he got out of milking cows, and was really focused on. I mean, he was trying to just downsize, right? Like, he wasn't interested in milking cows every morning and night anymore.
Can't
And
blame him
he
for that, man.
started a buffalo farm where he actually raised buffalo for a while. And so in that process and selling some of that acreage and the main farm off, he had a real estate agent that I guess I would say wasn't as focused on, it was a residential real estate agent, right? Like, she
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't tell you the trees she was looking at or the dirt she was walking on, a south facing slope versus a north, any of that stuff, which even at that time, there wasn't as many of us experts out there doing that stuff. And so when I kind of saw how things played out and how the main farm got sold and some of the acreage started to get sold, and just paying a little bit more attention to it as I kind of developed my career overall,
Yep.
I saw these guys starting to specialize in, outdoor real estate and farms and outdoor recreational real estate. Some of our competitors saw what they were doing, and Josh Gens has been a personal friend of mine for a long time, and just started chatting with him at hockey. We're both hockey guys. We got kids in hockey, and he said, "Yeah, come on board. We'll get you your real estate license. You think you'd be good at this? You're a guy that can talk farms, talk dirt, talk."
Well,
The
it's easy when it's like in your DNA, right? Like you don't have
yeah,
to. I always say you can't fake being a land pro, or let me re-say that. Like you can't effectively fake being a land pro because you're going to get called out at some point.
oh, absolutely right. Like, you can tell the difference between guys who have spent a ton of time just out there doing it on their own, and I'm doing it. I've been doing it my whole life for the fun of it, right? Like,
Right.
it is what I do, and now have been able to take some of those skills and what I've learned and just managing properties, managing our farm, and being able to help other clients and help people sell the property that I look at what my dad went through. And man, he put a lot of blood, sweat, and equity into that dairy farm, and to be able to potentially not get back out of it what he maybe could have by just not dealing with the right real estate agent, to me kind of showed that there was a need for
Yeah.
people like us, need for UC hunting properties guys that we're here to really make sure that these clients that have generations of time, equity, blood, sweat, and tears into this dirt, be able to get back out of it what they deserve, right? And so it's not an agent that just comes in and takes 5 cell phone pictures, can't really tell you anything about how to, help them set up the property or put them in the right path, if nothing else, to what makes sense. And if they're looking for 40 acres of recreational dirt that, they want to hunt with 2 or 3 kids, what should I be considering? What is it about this piece that makes it better than the other piece? Or what is the makeup of, the timber on it, or different things that you could help them to just take those first steps? Is there top access? Is there water? What is, what am I going to need to do? Where would I set up a food plot? All those things that
Right.
said it, you just go talk to any Joe Schmo real estate agent off the street, and you can tell pretty quickly if you take a walk with one of our guys versus one of the other guys that, we kind of all just, it is what we do, right?
Well, it's our lifestyle, right? Like you're not faking it. This is what you do, and it happens to be in real estate. So,
yeah, no, man. So it's been great. Like I said, I think when we were talking to start, I've been licensed now for 6 years. I think Colton and I got licensed right about the same time in 2018. Working for Josh and Travis now the whole time. Love to see what you guys have been doing with UC Hunting Properties and the additional, views and the additional support that you guys have been adding to the logo of the brand, who we are and what we do. We can see it. I can see it personally. We're becoming the brand that is people are really aware of, that we're a leader in this space. And not to say it wasn't like that when I started, but I just don't think we did as good of a job of sharing that story with people like you have for the last year or two that you've been on board with us. And so thank you for all of that and what you do for us.
Well, we thank you for saying that. That's the goal. And I say it all the time that I feel like UC Hunting Properties and truthfully United Country in general is like the best kept secret in the real estate game, because where there's agents that hammer, they're very well known in their region. But collectively it's the equivalent of a series of islands, so we want to be that conduit, and we're pushing hard. We're going to continue to push hard. And at the end of the day, Laramie, this isn't about me or UC Hunting Properties. This is about all the agents that make up UC Hunting Properties. And clearly we need guys like you and your counterparts to keep beating that drum. So keep beating that drum, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like we're going to be out there, doing what we can do to build our own personal brands. And it starts with working with clients and giving them good support and having those stories and having those client referrals and everything else. And then adding in, the marketing aspects that you guys bring to the table and making more people aware of what we've been doing for 6 years or plus. A lot of, there's a lot of guys in our group like Travis and Gens that I think they were born real estate agents. I think they've been doing it their life.
Yeah, it sure seems like it, right?
Travis came out of the womb and just started writing contracts. Like I think
he was calling bids right out of the womb. You're right. I don't think you're wrong, dude.
Yeah. So no, it's been an awesome group. Awesome brokerage to be a part of. Awesome group of guys. I guess I just got so much other stuff going on and different things and different areas working that I don't get to spend as much time with a lot of the group that I'd like to. But I do take my time in the fall to slip away, spend some time. Colton and I did a little hunting last year together. And,
well, speaking of that, I'm looking at you on the big screen and right over your left shoulder, I believe is the bull elk you took out in Wyoming, right?
Yeah. So Colton and I did a hunt in Wyoming, archery bull elk last fall, and it was a fun hunt. We were out in southeast Wyoming where we were putting some miles on. It started out a little bit treacherous. I shouldn't say treacherous, but had some automotive issues going out there. My truck, the water pump blew out, and so I ended up having to rent a minivan. And I was supposed to meet Colton in North Dakota or South Dakota on the way out there, and then go the rest of the way with him. And we ended up having to drive separately. And so me in the minivan, the mom minivan, made our way out there, which when my water pump went out in western side of Minnesota, there really wasn't a place to rent a car. So I had to find this mom and pop, shop that was essentially, they didn't rent cars. I had to talk them into letting me rent this minivan and make my way out all the way to Wyoming. And then, of course, we both shoot nice bulls. And here I am trying to pack all the coolers and all the racks into this minivan to bring them back to Wisconsin. And it was an adventure for sure. But yeah, no, I'm super, super proud of, it was always a goal of mine to take a bull elk with archery. I've done, I think, 6 or 7 hunts. I'm going back out on another one. I'm doing a Colorado hunt this fall. We're going into the flat top wilderness. We're on horseback with some wall tents.
Nice.
Buddy of mine. So, super excited about that. But those ones are, a lot tougher. The DIY ones where you're, putting the time and effort in yourself to do it. I've had some minimal success doing those hunts, but I also, every time I go out and do it, I never look back on it and wish, I would have not taken the opportunity to go and hunt. I've done New Mexico, Colorado, Oregon, Wyoming, spent a lot of time just out there chasing them around, and I enjoy the vocalization and calling aspect of it. I'm a big turkey hunter, big turkey caller. So just the vocalization and using the mouth call and diaphragm call and working and trying to get that response is something that I enjoy as much as, well, I shouldn't say I enjoy it as much as killing the animal, because, man, I don't know if any elk in general is pretty darn tasty. I mean, I pretty much have went through this whole bull already. I mean, we eat it all the time. You can see in the background, I think, kids walking around here. And so we're eating wild game 2 or 3 meals a week if it's not venison.
Wow, dude, if you got, I was going to say, if you got elk in the freezer, I mean, outside of maybe an Angus ribeye or something, that elk meat's pretty precious stuff, man.
I tell you what, the burger we ground up, my kids prefer the elk burgers to, my dad still has beef cattle, so I get a quarter of beef from him every year. And honestly, they prefer the elk burger to the beef burger when I do burgers on the grill. It's so good, man. I mean, it is, I think, my favorite wild game out there, my favorite venison for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So Laramie, was that your first archery bull last year in Wyoming, or had you killed one before that?
It was my first bull. I shot a cow 3 years ago. I've had a couple opportunities where I've been full draw and just never got the arrow sent for all the reasons we all know as an archery hunter why it doesn't happen.
Unfortunately, we all know, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, yep, that was the first one right there, and I'm hooked. I mean, I was hooked beforehand, but man, I'm not getting any younger and I'm not getting in any better shape, and it's a good reason for me to try to get into shape this time of year. I've started to try to get myself back into shape to do it because, I mean, as well as I do that it's the only thing that when you get out there that really hinders you is tackling those mountains when you're a Wisconsin Midwest whitetail hunter. It's not something that we're doing as often as those guys out there. I mean, they can put on the miles and they can move and they can move fast. And so I'm going to do it until my legs won't let me do it anymore.
Amen to that. Walk us through the I don't care if, I'll call it the final approach, but what's the story behind that bull? How did it all go down?
Yeah, so I think it was the third day we were hunting, and it was, so we were out there can't remember now, first or second week of September, so it was still pretty early. And the bulls were actually still bachelor grouped up pretty good, so they hadn't really spread out, and we tried to get in close. There was some bugling that morning. We did get in relatively close, but they were still grouped up pretty good. And then we were kind of making our way back out later in the morning, and we spotted 3 bulls clear across the drainage. I mean, they were way over, and we just stood and watched them. And we were watching them from, I don't know, it had to be close to a mile away. And we watched them bed down. And so they bedded down on the shady side of a rock outcropping, right? And so, we were like, well, there's the opportunity. And so we put the miles on. I mean, I think I have my Onyx tracker. We ended up going I don't know how many miles. We went but we knew they weren't going anywhere, right? Because it's the middle of the day. It was
Yeah.
like 11 or 10:30 in the morning, and so they were going to stay bedded there until the evening. So we knew that, where they were going to be at.
You had
As
your landmark, yeah.
long as we could get to that rock outcropping, and we knew that was the tougher part. So, long story short, or long story long, we ended up going all the way around this drainage. It took us probably an hour and a half. Got the wind right. The toughest thing was trying to figure out, because now everything looks different, right? When you're on the back side of it, looking at
Absolutely.
rock outcroppings, exactly which one was the right rock outcropping that we were looking at from a mile away on the other side. And so we started making our way up and kind of had differing opinions about which one it was. And so I was pretty sure, and I was right on the one that it was. And so as we were walking up to it, I had an arrow knocked, had the wind right in our direction, and, just working slowly. And all of a sudden I heard, the best description is they sounded like cattle, right? Like they were knocking rocks and moving. And so I knew that they must have gotten up. And so I made like a couple more quick steps to get to a rock where I could look out. And sure enough, all three bulls came out, and they all, they didn't know exactly what was going on. I imagine they must have caught some of our wind or just something. You know how animals are. They'll figure out.
Yeah, especially when you get in that bubble, right?
Yeah, we were close. Yeah, exactly right. And so I was full draw when they came out. They all three came out. There was actually one that was bigger than him, and he stopped the furthest out. And this one stopped at 50. And so, yeah, I was full draw, shot him quartering away, 50 yards, shooting an iron will broadhead, got a clean pass through at a quartering away. It was a little bit further back than I wanted it to be, but got with a clean pass through, getting some time, found him later that afternoon.
Right on. How was the pack out from there? Not bad, or?
It wasn't too bad. It was pretty much, we could go downhill, which was nice, right? So we were able, I think we got it out in probably 3 or 4 loads between 3 guys. So it wasn't that bad. It wasn't too bad at all. But yeah, it kind of spoiled me, right? Like if I do it again this fall, it's going to be way worse.
Right.
In wilderness area where you're really relying on just your own 2 feet and your back to get a lot of that stuff out of there. The nice part is the guy I'm going with this fall, we will have horses. So we'll have the opportunity to be able to get horses back in there if we do kill something, and sat phone out to get some horses in there to help us back it out.
Wow, that alone's a game changer, right? It's one thing to go deep, and I've had that conversation with a lot of guys. It's not about, being a badass or not being a badass. The reality is if you go in, I don't care if you're 3 miles in and you take a bull elk and you got to go 3 miles out, like you're basically walking into the flames of hell at that kind of distance. So that's the only thing I tell guys. I'm like, it's one thing to be, 3 to 10 miles in, but I said you better have an exit strategy because you got about 24 hours to make things happen.
Yeah, and that's where having horses or the availability to get the horses back in there makes me feel a little bit better about it. If we were going to have to pack it all out by ourselves, because we're going in like 5 or 6 miles into the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to be on our own. Hopefully, who knows? It is Colorado, and there is a lot of people that get back in there, but we're going to try to go a little bit deeper than everybody, and having some horses will hopefully help us do that. But you're right, and it never feels harder than that pack out with your second or third load of meat, or just weight on your back. Your legs get tired pretty quick.
No, yep, I'd get the old ruck pack out and start climbing them hills, brother.
Yeah, I got right behind me. I got a step-up box and a weighted vest that I've started to try to do the mountain tough workouts, and have started to pick those up a little bit just to get the legs and the core back into shape as much as anything.
Right.
I think my wind's usually pretty good. I still skate, still play some hockey, so that helps out with some of that. But just getting your legs used to that much hiking is something that takes some time.
For sure. And there's, I don't know. I've tried everything, the stair stepper, and now I'm kind of into the the weighted backpack, to mimic what it's going to be like. And I to this day, I just don't think there's anything that mimics, what you put your body and your mind through out west. I just don't think there is. It's you can try to be ready, and God knows you better be ready, but nothing truly mimics it.
No, we've got up here where I live. I'm not too far away from Perot Park. Perot Park has a bunch of trails right on the bluffs of the Mississippi River, and they've got I don't know, 10, 20 miles of trails that go up and down the bluffs. And so I'll throw a pack on, and I'll go up there, and I'll try to put some miles on leading up to it, because it's as good of a mimic of mountains as you're going to get with the bluffs right here along the Mississippi River. But it's still, after a full day of hiking in the mountains, it's tough to replace it. It usually takes me, I feel like, after like day 2 of being in the mountains, I feel like you're sore a little bit the first couple days, but then you start to feel a little bit better, and you're a little more acclimated after you've been out there for about a week.
What kind of, how high are you guys going to be hunting in Colorado this year?
That's a good question. I kind of been relying on my buddy. He kind of set it all up for us. I think we're going to be right around 10,000, 11,000 feet.
Yeah. So it'll be a noticeable difference. Yeah. But that's getting up there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be up there. There's no replicating that elevation. That's for sure. And just getting used to it.
Right. So, shifting gears with you, Laramie, I know you said you do, I don't want to say financial planning. I don't want to call you a financial advisor. But in the real world, how do you talk to us about that a little bit? Because I feel like you have knowledge outside of the real estate world that fits with, in essence, real estate planning, from a portfolio perspective.
Yeah, it definitely helps out, right? Like I don't shy away from having the conversation with my clients that I have another sales job, and I work in financial. Essentially, I work with financial advisors for their education and continuing education and support. And so I'm working with clients, working with organizations and firms across the country to help their financial advisors get licensed and stay licensed with our educational products. And so, it fits in, on a daily basis. I'm talking about, what's going on in the market, kind of what we're seeing, different real estate investment trusts, different things that, things that are out there that, kind of go hand in hand with real estate. And it's a great kind of transition and conversation to have with people. As you well know, one of our go-to statements is stand on your investment. And when I can get clients to really think about, their property, think about their recreational property even as an investment, right? Because people have 401ks, they have Roth IRAs, they have all this stuff that they're putting money into. And by no means am I going to be one that tells you don't do that stuff.
Right.
But if you change your mindset a little bit and you look at this 40 acres that you're going to buy as an investment, and as we all know, and you can look at the statistics of what resale value of recreational property has done in the last 10 years, it's hard to even replicate. And then the best thing about it is then you get to enjoy it, right? Like you're that money that you're putting away every month, instead of, and I shouldn't say instead of, but if you look at it like that type of an investment, right? Like you're looking at it as something as tangible, and you could resell it and gain something back off from it if you wanted to or needed to. Then it kind of changes that mindset as, oh man, I don't think I can afford that, however much a month for just some land. Okay, well, it's not just some land, right? This is an investment. This is something that's going to gain and continue to gain in value over the course of, look at some of the stuff. I've resold some of the same properties that have grown in just a couple of years, right? And so change that mindset, change that mentality for a client, into looking at this as an investment, and then putting time and effort into improving that investment too, right? Talking to them about how could we improve this? What could we do? Well, we could do some timber stand improvement. Then you could put it into an MFL. You could open some of it up. You could put some food plots in and put a pond in. And now all of a sudden, this property that you bought at however much an acre looks a lot better. It's going to feel. You put some trail systems in. You just make it a more enjoyable property to be on and to hunt. Then that property value is going to increase and improve and all of that stuff. And so, kind of kind of going back to where your original question was, I think talking about that and talking about, just investments in general, helps with both of the things that I do in
No,
a
and I like how you kind of brought that whole thing full circle, Laramie, because there is something to be said about changing the mindset, right? Like I think we've all, at least our generation, I think grew up, and it was pounded into our brains, that you put money in that 401k or your IRA or whatever, and you don't ask questions, you just park it. You put it there, and if you don't have it, you're never going without because you're so acclimated to it.
Yep.
And I wish at 18, 19 years old, that switch had already went off in my mind that I have to save for my future. I would give anything to rewind time and be able to add, and not just recreational real estate in general, as an investment vehicle. Dude, I think about that all the time. Like, had I just been throwing a couple $100 a month at a piece of ground like what I could have now, it makes me almost nauseous to think that all my invested money's like stocks and stuff, that it's great that they're growing, but hell, I'd have just soon been hunting on my own farm. I can tell you that.
Yeah, exactly right. And so just kind of changing that mentality a little bit. And if you're not looking at it as oh man, that land payment's going to cost me this much, but instead of looking at it as like, okay, you're putting your money towards a 401k every month and you're putting money towards a Roth IRA every month. Now this is going to be another way that you're going to be investing every month. And this is going to be some money that you're putting towards that, to be honest with you, could be a little bit more liquid because it can be resold a little bit quicker. A lot of the investments that you're going to put money into have a lot of stipulations around when you can pull that money back out and when you can get it and actually utilize some of that cash. And by all means, I don't want to sit on this podcast and tell people not to or pull all their money out of their 401k and put it into land. Everybody has to figure out what's right for them, right?
Sure.
And for their family, but look at it more that way instead of having somebody look at it as, man, I really wish I could, I really would like to have some land, but I just can't afford it. Well, start to look at it a little bit more creatively. What are you spending every month? Break down their budget, see what, they're putting, maybe they back off a little the money that they're putting into a 401k or a Roth IRA for the next 5 years. Maybe they back off from, and if you look at, a lot of the wealthiest people in the country have a very diverse portfolio, right? They have a portfolio that consists of a lot of real estate investments and, rental properties and land and all of those things. And so, it's something that, it gets me excited every day to talk about this stuff.
No, and I love talking about it because, like I said, I wish I would have had I wouldn't trade how I grew up to, for anything. I love how I grew up in the Midwest and hunting in the outdoors and the farming. And, but in the same, I just think about how much emphasis was put on, your future, and investing. I just wish somewhere along the way somebody to kick me and said, dude, start buying land, because hell, I was over 30 when I bought my first piece of dirt, and in hindsight with compounding, I wish I'd have started when I was 18, 19 years old. Like I wish I'd have just dove head in.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Like I'm sort of in the same boat. I think I'm maybe a little bit older than you, but at the time, just farming in general just wasn't dairy farming, milking cows. I wanted to get away from the farm and go get a college degree and go into business, marketing, finance, something along those lines, because that's where I thought I wanted to make money and be at. And by no means, I do think I enjoy what I'm doing and have had a successful career. But the more and more now I look back on it, it's like, man, maybe I should have just taken over that 600 acres. I would have had all this dirt. I could have, go now all I want to do is become a farmer.
Right. Right. I get it.
Like that's more of my interest than when I was 19 years old. Right. And just ready to get away from get away from our dairy farm and go to college and do the things that I set out to do. But yeah, I mean, I think it also gave me the skills and like you said, having both ends of it, growing up as a farm kid, dairy farm kid in Southwest Wisconsin, and now adding into it what I built in a sales and finance and real estate career make me a little bit more effective in what I do on a daily basis.
100%. No, I get it. I get it. Well, Laramie, we're already getting long in the tooth here, so I want you to give the listeners a tip from Laramie, and I don't care. You can go with something property or land management related. You can give us a hunting tip. Give us a little tidbit of knowledge, or a best practice, I guess, when it comes to buying or selling real estate. But I want one tip out of you, straight out of God's country, Wisconsin. What is it?
Boy, I got to be limited to one tip.
One tip.
I was prepared to talk about food plots and how this year versus last year and the difference in the choices that I made in putting in soybeans and where they're at this year compared to the drought that I was faced with last year. And
I'm right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you.
All those things are, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do about what happens there. I mean, I guess probably for me, work with a professional real estate agent that, you're comfortable with and that get to know them and understand, what your goals are and have conversations with them about it and make sure that they understand exactly what you're looking for. And don't feel like that just because the property, that the property prices and what it takes to buy land has definitely went up in the last few years. There isn't ways that you can do it. There isn't ways that you can not. Everybody kind of comes to me like, "Oh, I can't buy any property." Look at that. Your stuff's going for 7,000 an acre, or whatever else. With the right mindset and the right financial discipline and working with financial advisors or setting up a plan and a budget plan and putting some effort into it for a few years, there's ways that you can get creative around buying some dirt and buying some property. Working with a professional that understands a lot of those nuances and how you can save and what you can do to put yourself in a better situation. And it might take a few years to get to the point where you can actually, afford to leverage some things. And there's different programs out there that you can look into and try to find opportunities to buy some dirt. But if it's a dream of yours, and if it's a dream, I'd say of anybody's, there's a way that you can make it a reality. It just takes some discipline. It's kind of like working out to get ready to go out west, right? Like there's not just a quick, snap my fingers and I can drop 10 pounds and be ready to go up the mountain. It takes discipline and it takes some time and effort to be prepared to go out west in September. And it's the same thing when you're trying to prepare to buy land for your first time. Take a holistic approach to how you save, how you invest, and working with a professional that understands all of those things. Preferably me, but there's a lot of good ones out there. We have a lot of really great agents in this group with UC Hunting Properties that, have a ton of experience and really can help you find that opportunity. I guess that would be my tip is if it's a dream and a goal of yours to own some recreational land, or even upgrade that recreational land to a bigger farm. I actually just closed on, we had 46 acres of my personal property that I sold to buy and 1031 to a bigger chunk of property. And so there's always those things out there, right? That you can find ways to keep it, the tax deferment down through 1031 and find some more dirt by selling other property and being able to it's, everybody kind of looks at it as a daunting task of buying or selling property. And there is a lot that goes into it, but if you work with a real estate professional that can do that for you, and really help you out, it's not impossible.
Yeah. And I'm glad, I love that that's kind of your tip. I know that was a big tip and we could go 20 angles on that, but like you brought up a 1031 on your personal stuff. I mean, a lot of people are oblivious to that kind of thing. So if you don't understand it, you damn sure, you can't leverage it properly. So I think that's right. I think picking the right agent that's professional beyond just real estate and understanding how, you make it fit into your lifestyle. It is key. So I'm glad you went there. I like that big time.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And there's always a lot of different moving parts to each property. And, when I first told my dad what I wanted to try to do with this, I think he kind of thought I was maybe a little bit crazy. But when I got a signed contract and showed him what we were going to get for it, I think he
Changed his
realized that
tune quick. Yeah.
the reality that you can get, if you're using a good professional agent that markets it and promotes it and gets it out there, there's buyers that are in the market looking for that stuff and are willing to take that on. And yeah, I mean, it's a fun place. It's a great place to work, and it's a great opportunity to be able to help people, help clients, realize some dreams, own their own house, own
Yeah.
their first property. All of those things are things that we get to do on a daily basis, and it's pretty cool.
Right on, right on. Well, Laramie, I know you are uber busy. We appreciate you jumping on today, buddy. Once again, I'm going to say it, that all of our listeners, that this is one of the platforms we're really trying to stress and grow for the UC Hunting Properties Network. So, as always, like, share, and hit that subscribe button. That is how we grow this, and that's how we keep the train on the track. So, Laramie, without further ado, brother, we're going to sign off. Hope to see you soon, and good luck this fall, buddy.
Hey, thanks, man. No, I appreciate the time. Appreciate all you do for UC Hunting Properties and the agents here. You're the best, Kurt. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you soon. And yeah, shoot straight, buddy.
Yeah, you too, dog. Take care.